Just that kid.
All right, and is there music?
There is.
Oh,
I'm trying to.
Yeah, this is a piece that I wrote many years ago.
is it like 444? Is it John Cage? Is that what we're listening to right now?
Is that what it sounds like?
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Is that what it's reminiscent of?
Listen closely.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, wow.
right now, that's
It's sound of
straight up,
silence.
straight up.
Okay. All right. That's enough of that.
You
Hello,
can't hear-
everybody.
you can't hear the music, Jamie.
You can't hear it.
We couldn't hear it. That's what he was saying.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay,
444 from John Cage is all rest notes. It's 4 minutes and 44 seconds of rest notes. Actually, if you look at the score, there's a part halfway through where the pianist is actually sitting at the piano with the lid closed, and then halfway through they open it and they still hover with their hands above the keys. It's actually the appropriate way to play it.
Oh my goodness. Well, now you've just educated me. I had no idea.
I mean, we could
But,
throw that one.
I really
Give it a
cannot.
spin.
Well, I can't understand why you're asking us. Like, you guys can't hear this because you can always hear it, right?
Yeah,
I
normally we
dance to
can.
it usually. I wasn't
It's
dancing,
very
so it's
unusual.
fine. I can't hear it.
That's just the way the night's going to go.
I think this is going to be one of those nights. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway,
Well,
we
swing
think.
it.
I was just going to say hello, everybody. This is Jamey with Mike and Grant. 3 guys, 1 music. Thank you for joining us this week.
Hey,
We've got
welcome.
a really great guest this week with Aaron Birdsall. This gentleman I've gotten to know in the last couple of years is a really talented individual and has lots of experiences in the industry, and has my total respect as a full-time musician. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to do our normal, what we've been listening to. So Mike, do you want to go first?
I will go first. Again, nothing special this week, although Friday I did decide to listen to Guadalcanal Diary. Remember that band from the 80s?
I do remember that.
They were,
Do not.
I think a lot of bands were in that genre of jangle pop or jangle rock, what they called it, where they're just banging chords, on a clean guitar. Yeah, Fraggle Rock.
Was that around
That's what it was
86,
called.
maybe?
86. I think their first album came out in 82, but
Oh, wow.
they made a splash and just kind of disappeared. But Guadalcanal Diary, can't talk tonight. Really good band I listened to. And one I do want to point out, I've been meaning to mention them for weeks now, and I keep forgetting. But I went to see Jane's Addiction and Love and Rockets in concert. And the band that opened up is a young band called the Crawlers. Or Crawler. It's called Crawler. 3 girls, 1 guy. And they haven't been around for very long. I think they've only got 1 album out, but they put on a really good show. And I listened to them when I got back. I listened to their music. And live, of course, they're much better. But it's worth a listen. Crawler is a really good, just straight up rock band. Not family-friendly lyrics in some places, but it's really good, and I see a lot of potential for growth. I hope they get to go somewhere. But Crawler's a really good band to listen to, and that's what I've listened to this week. The standouts, anyway.
All right, Grant, I'm waiting.
Awesome.
Waiting. Nothing unusual this week. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Some of the usual.
You guys do have something special to talk about, though.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yes.
We watched that as well.
Right.
The usual stuff. I won't bore you, but I did 2 new releases. Time Cop 1983 has a new EP out, and Voy, that Ukrainian artist I discovered, has a new album out, and so I've been listening to those, and then a lot of synthwave because that's the genre it's in. So that great new work by those guys, and that's basically what I've been listening to. I mean,
Cool.
odds and sods elsewhere, but nothing to speak of really. But those are the 2 main things that I've been into this week.
You guys want to talk about the Beat tour that you saw, or?
It was great.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I'm biased just because I was so excited to see it, but it really was, I feel, one of the best shows
For sure.
I've been to. There's just so much energy. On stage, they were having a ball. I remember I saw Tony Levin look over to Vi and Baloo on stage, and he kind of smiled like, hey, this, I can't believe I'm here. I'm having such a good time. And that's the vibe you got the whole night.
Correctly. I'll
And
always sing.
yeah, gosh.
it was there was a couple of songs, even though they're just corn up parts. I was almost like in a trance. It was almost like meditative. It was surreal that way. And the crowd was very respectful. There was no hooting and hollering in the middle of the parts you want to hear and the things you want to listen to. And I told both you guys this, and Michael, obviously he knows because I was talking about it then. I was most impressed with Vi because he was the odd man out to me with those musicians.
Right.
And I was hoping he wouldn't be like, oh, I'm Steve Vai, look at me, and he wasn't. He played for the music, and when he took his solos, they were so melodic, so tasteful. I was just bowled over. Like I said, I told Jamey, going in, he was the least person I was looking forward to seeing, and then coming out of it, I was like, wow, he was my favorite player of the night, and that's something to say with the other three guys,
Yeah,
it's really exciting to hear.
Yeah, well, the early videos I've seen on YouTube, Steve Vai was doing just that. I think he was overplaying a little bit, and I was kind of concerned. But I enjoyed the show, and when they got to "Sheltering Sky," which is one of my favorite songs, I was like, "Oh, please, don't go over the top." But Steve Vai was Steve Vai, and just nailed it. He just sucked me in with that song. Wow. And I was waiting. I was on the edge of my seat.
He was waiting for one note.
That one note where Steve was like, "Here it comes," and I'm like, "I'm ready. Give it to me."
Michael actually said "wow" and clapped during the song when they hit that note.
It was awesome. And what's funny, I didn't point that out to you that night. What's funny is, it's a room full of musicians and 50-year-olds, 50-somethings, and
all musicians.
There's an obvious beat to every song, but it's an odd time signature. So you look around and everybody's banging their head to a different beat.
Now, just real quickly, the picture that you posted, is that on Tony Levin's website of YouTube that was in a crowd shot?
Oh, we're in the crowd shot.
I zoomed way in and kind of blotted out their faces so you could see us. But I didn't know. I got on there. I was looking. Hey, there's us. We were really there.
Yeah,
dear officer, cool. We were accounted for during those hours.
So I have a lot to look forward to December 11th when I see them in St. Louis, right?
Oh yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right, well, I'm going to talk about what I've been listening to, and then we'll let our special guest talk about his vast experiences and what he's been listening to, which I'm excited to hear about, actually. I've been listening to a lot of Burt Bacharach lately.
Oh, cool.
I'm all over the map. Been listening to a lot of songs by him, and this is going to sound really sketchy, cheesy, but the show that used to be on several years ago, Glee, they did a mashup of The House Is Not a Home and If Anyone Had a Heart. Both, that is just that's a great mashup that they did on that. It really, they captured what those two songs, what make them great. But I've always been a sucker for Burt Bacharach's melodicism and his songwriting for the last 20 plus years. I'm a big fan. Yeah. And I just get into moods where I want to listen to that. And I've also been listening to a lot of Sting and the Police and solo. Just really admiring his songwriting more than anything else.
Yeah.
And the outlier of this is Steppenwolf's 1971 live record, which I came across accidentally. Never been a big fan of, but somehow came across one of the tracks on it. And the guitar player that was with him during that time, a guy named Larry Byram, I believe, he ended up going to Nashville later and becoming a pretty successful session musician, I think. He really was on that night, and that was a very entertaining and enjoyable record. And I listened to it at work this few days ago, so that was fun. So that's what I've been listening to. Just kind of a little bit of this and that.
Awesome.
So, how about you, Aaron?
Well, kind of like you guys, like all over the map. I mean, I had a crazy week because we moved both of our kids to a different state. But it does leave a lot of driving time to listen to a lot of albums, which was cool. But as regular gigging musician, my leisure time listening to music is a lot more limited,
Right.
because you don't get to turn your ears off at the end of the day. Like, we get to close our eyes at the end of the day and like shut our eyes to where we have no more visual inputs, but your ears are still open all night. So you really only get so much listening in a day. Like, really, ear
Right.
fatigue hits at, like, depending on your like dietary and sleep regimen, like anywhere between 5 and 8 hours. And then what do
Yeah.
you do if you're working a 10 or 12-hour day on like a movie set, and you like actually have to critically listen to everything all day?
Right.
So then at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't be able to listen to the radio on the way home. I would listen to just road noise.
I get
Because
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Literally couldn't listen to anything else. But when I do listen to things for fun, it's really interesting, because like half the time I have no idea what I'm going to listen to, and I just stumble upon weird shit. And then the other half, it's like go-tos. But I listen to so much music because I have to.
Right.
Like, I've got 4 groups that I'm starting right now. They're all different genres. And
As a producer.
no, I'm actually performing in the
really?
Oh my God.
Okay. Oh,
Normally it's
Okay.
easy, and I just get to like tell everybody what to do. And if they're sucking,
Right.
I just grab the instrument. I'm like, do it like this.
right.
And if they can't, I'll keep my part in there until they can figure out their shit.
Right.
But like right now, so there's an original Nashville country artist that I did some shows with this summer, and she and I actually went to high school together, and she got signed to like Curb Warner right out of high school, and she's
Wow.
been delivering songs for them for 20 years. But she was in town this summer. We played some shows, and I had to learn like 2 hours of her originals
Oh, wow.
Like,
That's
in
fun.
like a week or two to play
Wow.
this show. Yeah, it was a lot. And then got another group. There's a guitar company called Tone Devil Guitars, and they specialize in harp guitars and mandolins.
You have a
just-
harp guitar on your wall.
I do.
Yeah.
Actually, those guys made it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so those guys tapped me to be in a new group with them that's basically kind of like a postmodern jukebox, like old-timey style vibe. And we're going to put out a bunch of music videos
Wow.
that
Nice.
showcase their new mandolin line and this new like flamenco gypsy jazz guitar that they made.
Yeah. Like a McAfari. Kind
Yeah,
of a Django type of thing, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that group, and with that, I've been listening to all this cool old timey stuff.
Yeah.
And then I have another original group that we started out thinking we were just gonna like be a Brit rock tribute band or cover band or something, and then all of a sudden we like pooped out 13 original songs. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
well,
Nice.
maybe we should record an album and see what this is.
Mhm.
So we did that. We have a 5-song EP that's getting mixed right now. We're almost done with that. And then out of that, that same group, a couple of the members are also in some other groups and some tribute acts that make a lot of money.
Right.
One of them is like a Fleetwood Mac tribute group.
Right.
And they're really, really good. And they're like show, just performance level is super elevated. And they're paying all their crew really well. And I talked to him, I was like, guys, if we could do this, that would be kind of fun. And then also have an original group. And then we had to figure out what band to actually try to do a tribute act for. And let me tell you what we landed on. Somehow, we ended up with Queen, and I'm going to be doing all the Freddie parts.
Wow.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So I've been listening to a lot of Queen.
Yeah.
In addition to all the other shit I've been listening to. And man, I had no idea. Like, I've listened to a lot of Queen. Like, everybody knows like the main hits, which is like
Right.
15 or 20 songs.
Right.
But man, digesting like their full albums is crazy. They have so much stuff. It's like
Yeah.
the brains of Freddie and Brian were just too much. Like, they had so
Yeah.
much shit that they were delivering all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really tricky project.
Now, can I just ask, did you produce the EP at your house, at your home studio? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we mostly did it at my place. Kerry, the guitar player, we did a couple tracks at his place. He has a really great cabin. That he put his studio in. He actually designed it same dimensions as Walt Whitman's cabin, like a cabin in the woods.
Interesting.
And it's really cool. He actually treated it really well. Like he has got these cool loft areas that create some cool sound baffling, but you also have like storage in one and a bunk in the other. So if you're just cranking out tracks all day, you can like have the bass player sleep or something while you're doing keys.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Wow.
So that's kind of fun. We got to do some stuff there.
Now, is he also in Idaho? I mean, I guess he would be, right?
Yeah, he lives here. He and his wife have a place in Malibu also. He toured the world. He was Loretta Lynn's guitar player for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these guys are really good. I feel like the reacher in this group, which is kind of weird because they have some years on me and have toured the world a little bit more than I have. So I'm like always struggling to make sure my stuff's dialed. It's
all right.
It's weird for me to feel like I'm the least accomplished in the group, I guess.
That's well, you know, we all have thought about that, if not experienced it, and we know that if that's the case, you've got something to aspire to, and those around you are going to deliver, and you've got to do your thing, and it's usually raising your game. And at the end of the day, that's a good thing for the individual that's in that position.
Oh yeah,
it may not be that really fun for the people around you for a while, you know, until you get there. But
yeah, it'll be really fun. I'm excited about it because we're really approaching it with we're designing it to be a big show with high quality performance. So that means everybody's going to come in like full harmonies.
Oh, nice.
Dialed. I don't know if we're going to do full cosplay. We talked about that a little bit, and they're like, once you do that and you're like, do the handlebar mustache and you do the whole thing, like if you drop the persona at any given time, it throws off the audience. And but if you approach it like I am Aaron Birdsall playing Freddie Mercury, then like with Carrie's other group, like they are playing those roles, but then people hang out after the show and have them sign autographs. Not as the character they're playing, but as themselves, as they're doing it. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I can get behind that.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's just go back to the beginning for you. I mean, I don't think in the time that we've known each other, we've ever discussed what got you started. Who are the artists that really inspired you from the beginning? When did you start playing instruments, and when did you think you were going to go in this path? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh man, that's fun. So there's 8 kids in my family, and we all grew up playing music, singing in choirs, playing in band. We all grew up like singing in choir at church, and every one of us was baby Jesus in the Christmas play at some point. Like literally grew up on the stage. I was in my first choir when I was 4.
Oh wow!
And I started taking piano lessons when I was 6. Started taking trumpet lessons at 10.
Did your family paint a school bus all kind of colors when you went on tour?
Dude, my parents wanted to. They so wanted the whole like family band thing, but they never pulled the trigger. I think they should have. It would have been cool. But yeah, that was kind of the vibe. Like when I got into junior high, I actually picked my first instrument for me, which is the bass guitar. Because it was way cooler than like piano and trumpet, and you could play in a rock band, and it was the 90s, and that was like what was cool. So I found myself as like a 13-year-old junior high school kid playing in a rock band with all the seniors in the high school that were 18, because those were the only people that could actually play the gigs. So because none of my other friends actually could read charts or play their instruments or figure out what the hell to do. So then like when I got in high school, all of the bandmates graduated and did all their own shit. So then I had to start a new band where I was actually the leader and not the reacher. And I started a ska band, not knowing at all how to write and arrange horn parts, thinking that, if you play an instrument, you can like figure out what to play. But apparently that's actually not a thing. Apparently writers don't necessarily correlate to performers and vice versa all the time. I didn't know that. I was in my, I think I was in my like mid 20s before I realized that just because you play an instrument doesn't mean you can write for it.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. And I was like a complete asshole to my band members for not like stepping up and delivering the parts. But eventually I actually like learned, I taught myself trombone, and like I'd remembered enough of trumpet to like get some stuff. So then I actually wrote the trumpet parts. The drummer was like, "What kind of a drum beat?" I'm like, "Something cool and funky that goes with my sweet bass line." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Give me the stick, do this." So that was like a real kind of trial by fire, I guess. I was like 15, 16 at the time, trying to manage this band. And then I had a couple different other writing projects by the time I turned 18. I moved to Seattle with a good friend of mine, and we had a band in high school, and we wrote a bunch of songs then. God, and what else did I do?
Well, you have a band. You have a band you have songs on iTunes. This band, Flying Mammals.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I've been in hundreds.
Well, I know that's the band that I think
so
of. And
many songs.
Yeah,
like Flying Mammals, Black and Tan.
Right.
I had a couple solo projects, songs from the living room. What are some of the other ones that I've done? I mean, probably a good like dozen or so albums that are like actual my projects, but then like co-writing and producing for so many other people.
Right.
But I think really like, I don't know. I think I always liked like Soundgarden, and I think I really liked Chris Cornell's voice and stuff. So for the first couple bands I was playing in, I had a kind of a more gravelly, Chris Cornell-y kind of a vibe. But then like once I learned to sing a little bit more, because I started singing also in college. Like when I went back to school, I was bass performance and vocal performance and composition. And then I ended up actually switching my degree path to engineering so I could get paid easier. Not thinking about the fact that like it's actually the same industry and the same amount of people vying for the same jobs. So it's actually the same shit. You might as well just stick to playing guitar and singing, and eventually you'll make money. That's actually my advice for anybody that wants to do it, is just pick a thing and don't change.
Well, not only as a musician, and you have your hands in a lot of pots, but you work on, as you mentioned earlier, movie sets, TV sets, shows, locations, and how you got into being a sound Foley. Let's talk a little bit about that. How did that come about?
Well, I went to school in LA for sound design and audio engineering and music production. So that was in like 2004, 2005, right out of school. Like the reason why I went was so I could produce my own records. Because I was like, honestly, like, I don't have the time to like play in a million cafes for some, rich a-hole to be like, oh, I discovered this kid. I'm going to make so much money. Whatever. Fuck that. Put out your shit and make music and make art. Right. That's the vibe. So I learned engineering so I could do that, only to put out my own stuff. At the time, my older brother and I had lofty plans to start a record label and launch a label, studio, and broadcast company. I was 18 at the time.
It's very ambitious.
He had just graduated college. I just graduated high school. So we were already trying to launch shit and signing artists back then. So that was in, what year was that? How old am I now? Jesus. So it was a while ago, but since then I've started up 4 different labels and built 6 different recording studios. I got into the film and television side officially after like years of trying to get in and doing lots of other work for people. Like I'd done a couple movies, I'd done a couple feature films that were like cartoons for Lionsgate, and did sound design on those and the ADR recording for all the actors and stuff. But really, it wasn't until I got put on Z Nation, the zombie TV show. And that was actually, fun fact, only because I'm a musician, because I'm friends with another musician I played a gig with, and he and I had been colleagues and friends for a long time. And he was doing sound, he was boom mopping for another musician in the area who was actually running the sound for it. And my friend Darren asked me if I could cover some of his days, because he had a gig that he needed to go to and couldn't like work a 16-hour day and play a show on top of it. And then Tom, the mixer, was like, "No, I don't know this guy. That doesn't work for me." And so like my friend Darren couldn't play his show, and he quit and was like, "Nope, can't do it. Sorry, I'm out."
Wow.
And then I got a call from Tom, who's now actually one of my best friends.
Yeah.
The guy that was like, "I don't know this fucking guy." But yeah, so then I got put on that, even though I'd already done, I'd already worked on the show. I had already done behind the scenes interviews for the first 2 seasons. But he still was like, "I don't know this guy." But that's actually how I got on. It was because I was friends with other musicians that trusted my skills, that knew my stuff. And somebody literally said, "This is too much. I can't do the gig." And I happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And they put me on.
Yeah,
Well-
you never know who you're going to know that's going to actually get you somewhere, you know?
Exactly. It's like, that's what I always tell everybody the same thing. It's like, it's not, can you do the job? Can you get the job? It's literally, who knows that you have the skills to do the job, that want
Right.
you to do it for them.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know anyone, just put your stuff out on YouTube or wherever. Just put it out everywhere so people can see it. And then if anybody asks you what you do, throw them your YouTube channel. Here you
Yeah.
go. This is it. Do you want me or not? So that was kind of like my official like break into the film and television side full time.
Right.
But yeah, since then, I've gotten a bunch of songs in film and TV placements. Got to do 2 albums for ESPN, which was cool. So we did like 2 separate 10-song albums that both got Monday Night Football and Christmas Day NBA broadcast
That's cool.
games or whatever on Christmas Day. So that was just like last year or year before.
How fun is it to get residual checks every day? Multiple residual checks. Because I have
man.
seen these. It's a blast. It's got to be a lot of fun.
It is pretty cool. The trick now is actually making sure you get the money. With where AI is and with where copyright law is, it's actually really, really hard to get paid for your stuff anymore, because
Is that right?
the market
Oh,
is
wow.
so flooded with AI.
Oh, yeah.
How do you pay everybody, and who gets
Right.
paid what? You know, like when you can literally deliver thousands of songs in a day
Right.
to Spotify, right, that are made up on whatever Sonos or whatever the one AI song one is.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then you can create chatbots to listen to said songs and then make millions of dollars for literally nothing. A bunch of bullshit that nobody wants to hear, and a bunch of bullshit that nobody's listening. And you're like, "Yep, I made money somehow." I don't understand that part of the industry,
That's
because
crazy.
so weird to me. What are we even doing? Like,
Right. Yeah, but when you're on a film set and you're doing a job, like most recently, I can remember you were working on a show in Spokane, Washington as a sound Foley. And you have to do that job. You're getting paid for that. There's no replacing your talent. You're the one doing it. So for those kind of gigs, you know you're going to get paid for. But you're just talking about in terms of
That's-
songwriting and
yeah, well,
Submitting
that's just your regular paycheck. You don't get residuals
Right.
or anything
oh,
like that.
well, you're right. Right.
The who is it? Background background vocal actors and walla actors,
Mhm.
they make residuals.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know this. That is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. There are people that get millions of dollars in residual checks because they're in a group doing a walla, which is like when you see a film, right? And there's like a
Coffee shop or something.
Yeah, coffee shop where
Yeah.
there's people talking,
in
happening. When we shoot, no one's allowed to talk. All the people that are at the tables, the people that are getting coffee, no one's allowed to say a word except for the main people in the back of the room.
They're pretending to talk. Yeah.
Like you have to pretend. But then once we actually mix it, there has to be a crowd of people, right? You need something. So then in the studio, people go in and they're like talking like they're having, dinner or whatever. And then sometimes when it's like a big, loud, angry group of people, and you have a bunch of people making like nonsensical, like angry sounds or whatever.
Can I get hired for that particular position?
Seriously, it's the weirdest thing, right? So
Jamey.
paid to be in the group.
Angry coffee shop guy.
Later.
Nonsensical, angry guy. I think I could do that one.
Craziness, right? Yeah, when I found that out, I was like, wait a minute. You still get royalties for doing background walla when you have no English words, no any language, whatever you're delivering, it can't be discernible dialogue at all.
That's
you're just
crazy.
making weird sounds.
I agree. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
Kind of weird.
That sounds like a great gig.
Right? Yeah. I know. I've done a little bit, but not on the big stages where I get the royalty checks at the end of the day.
Right.
The other thing I like about being in film and television, but then also doing music stuff, is that when I'm actually doing the sound for the film or show or whatever, I can actually be in there in the moment with the director, with the actors, while I'm doing the sound in the scene, and then actually in their headspace, literally in the same environment, thinking, okay, what's the music that's driving this scene while we're shooting it? So then I can like already prep myself when we're talking about music later. And then hopefully I can get some songs in. It's kind of a tricky political situation to like take more than one job on a film. Because then everybody's like, wait a minute, there's like a million people that can do that job. Why do you got to take 6?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't like it. I would prefer to work with other people that can handle some of it. But it's really, really cool to this horror film that we did last fall, I actually got to do the sound on it. And got to be the re-recording mixer and do all the Foley on it and everything.
Has that movie been released?
No, not yet.
Okay. Can you say the title of it?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I'm not really sure what's going to happen yet.
Okay.
They were trying to do like a Halloween release this year, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think that was ever going to be in the cards.
Okay.
The cool part with that was like being there with the director and the producers and the actors. They would be, talking about things in the moment, like, oh yeah, we can do this in post and this in post. And then like look over at me and like, yeah, that's possible, or that is not possible, but maybe we could do this to actually fix that, or like, this type of music to drive the scene or whatever. So it's kind of a fun way to like prep and write. Because I write weird. I write a million different ways. Most people just write one way, like lyrics and then melody, or melody and then lyrics, or
I can relate to that.
And then whatever. Yeah. Like I get stuck so many times. So as soon as I get stuck in something, I switch methods. Just switch instruments, or I'll go, from trying to push like a melody idea to just like scrap everything, start with like a lyrical concept or a groove instead.
Well, creatively, that's a good way to not get stuck.
Wait, what now?
I said creatively, that's a good way to not get stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can easily get stuck and focused on one thing and why it's not working. And instead of concentrating on that, just start with a different instrument or a different approach. Yeah.
Is it your goal to write at least a song a day, Aaron? Because you write a lot.
I've had times when I've put that as a goal. But I don't need to anymore. I've done a lot of like competitions and things where you like have to like write so much in a certain amount of time. I used to do February album writing month every year. Do you guys know about that? FOM?
No, I don't think so.
Familiar with that.
It's kind of like NaNoWriMo for musicians. If you know what NaNoWriMo is, November novel writing month or something. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but anyway, you basically take the shortest month of the year in February, and you write a song every other day, or take 2 days to write a song, and then at the end of the month, you have a full album. There's like thousands of people that do it every year, and there's a whole online forum to like help encourage people to get through stuff. And there's also people that specialize in like lyric writing only or melody writing, so you can team up with other people. So done lots of those. There's also January. I haven't actually done that yet, but I kind of wanted to. One of my friends does it. January is same kind of deal, but instead of like FOM, where you write a whole album in the month, January, you actually live stream writing a song every day. And
Oh, wow.
you pick a song topic at random. I think there's like a generator that can do it for you, or you can like pick a conversation topic card or whatever for like a coffee table, card or something, and just pick a topic to write the song and then start it, live stream it, put it out. My friend Glenn Case does that every year and drops 31 songs every year.
Oh, wow. I just want to ask real quickly, did you guys hear that just a minute ago? The text messages? Yeah, I apologize. I'm using my Mac and I don't normally use it, and I don't know how to turn off the text message notification on my computer. So I'm getting it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, forgive you.
The thing that I found recently why I don't set a goal to write a song every day was like when I started doing the ESPN stuff with my brother Jamey, we had 20 days to deliver 10 songs, 10 original songs, and not just like fully written, but fully produced, like fully mixed, mastered with metadata for every possible instrument, genre, classification, lyric, and multiple versions, like shorter versions, longer versions, instrumental only versions, minimal lyric versions.
I'm exhausted just hearing you say all that.
For real.
20 days to deliver 10 songs and
Wow.
deliver. And we did it twice. And the first round, I was in Texas building a recording studio when my brother got the gig. And when I left, when I was flying home, I wrote 6 songs at the airport. And 5 of them ended up on the album that got used.
Wow.
Nice.
That's crazy that they want all the versions in the different ways, so they don't really even have to do anything. They say, oh, we need a 30-second tag. Well, we'll just use this. It's already done. Or we want 2 minutes. It's done. And that's crazy that they don't edit themselves and go. They just have one song and they have their engineer go pick out 10 seconds of this to use here, or a minute of that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
They're doing all the work.
do that. They can do that, but
they make
want
you
it
do it.
fully workable and easy. But it actually is kind of a cool gig for us, because then that means, because they paid for it, means ESPN is our publisher for those songs. So whenever they package a game with our song, they're our publisher. So they also get money because they published it. So it actually works out for us, because now they're like pushing our stuff because they already paid for it once, but they actually get royalties and we get royalties.
Okay. I have a question here. I have wondered about this. Whenever you're writing for a project, how do you approach what style you're going to pick? Are you just going to see what inspiration comes? You're going to say, well, I've got to write in this particular genre. How are you thinking about that?
Yes.
That seems like an obvious thing to me that you'd have to consider right from the beginning.
Yep. That's like literally the first thing out of the gate was
right.
And they gave us a couple examples. They were like, we want this. The first one, they wanted very inspirational, thematic kind of anthems. And we're like, okay, this is kind of
explicit. Cool. They're explicit in what they're wanting from you from the outset.
Yeah.
Try to narrow it down.
And then they were like, yeah, we really like these like female-led ballads. And then they showed us these like Olivia Rodrigo stuff and some Taylor Swift stuff. And it was all really, really depressing stuff. And we're like, I mean, I get it. This is what's popular right now.
That sounds great for sports.
I know. What
Yeah.
are we only playing this on, like, this is what
Yeah.
happens when you don't win, like pick yourself
Yeah.
back kind of a deal. But
These
we
football
cranked out
players don't have
10
driver's
songs
license.
for that same vibe. We actually kind of tongue in cheek, we call ourselves the Sad Bastards for that project. Because it was like, no, this is our identity. We're just going to own this, and we're going to,
Right.
overcome adversity together, and we're going to do it.
Right.
But then we just listened to the examples they gave us, and we're like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's this kind of style. There's these
Right.
kinds of instruments. You can sort of copy an idea genre-wise without legally
Right.
ripping it off, or
Right.
illegal ripping it off, which is like, that is really easy to do. I could do that all day, but it's so boring for me. Like,
Mhm.
it's actually easier on my soul to write 6 songs while singing into my phone while I'm at the airport waiting for my gate, than it is to like go through and dissect each instrument, go, oh, okay, it's kind of this, or okay, it's kind of this groove, layer it all in, and then go, okay, how do we make it legal? Let's invert this line. Let's change this chord. Like, that's dumb. Just write some new shit.
Right. Now, would
But,
you
like,
say that Mike and I have had this discussion, and Grant as well? I am not a lyric guy, and I don't know that I've talked to you about this, but I've always thought of you more as a music guy. But would you say that lyrics are something that you consider they're just really important whenever you are writing a song, or is it? Do you not think of it in those terms, or how do you approach when you're like really composing something?
I don't believe I've heard any lyrics on an ESPN song.
Well, all of our stuff had lyrics.
Wow.
We delivered no lyrics versions and minimal lyrics versions too.
I just was thinking
because they wanted this inspirational type of a deal. That's what it all was.
Right.
Lyrically, I think I tend to go with what serves the song.
Right.
I'm kind of weird enough to where I don't think that I actually am creating any of the things that I'm actually putting out into the universe. I think I'm actually just kind of tapping into a different frequency of existence, and actually like putting notes in our vibrational universe, in our atmosphere, and creating patterns that exist elsewhere in our environment. So when I say that I like try to put lyrics where they serve the song, like sometimes the song is the groove, and the song becomes like meditative, trancey thing. And yeah, you want some words because you don't just want it instrumental, but you kind of want it minimal, and you kind of want it a little hands-offish. So then I would agree with like John Lennon in the, obla di, obla da, or sing a song about a poster or whatever. Like at that point, the lyrics don't matter, the groove matters.
Yeah.
It's more phonetic.
Yeah. But then there's other times when like you've got this great groove or this great melody or this really great like punch of a thing, right? You have this like all of the emotion and energy that you're building. Like if it's for a film, even like you've got this whole scene and there's no music, so then the emotion's dead, right? But then you put the music in, and then all of a sudden it's this like bowl holding an item, right? An item is the actors actually delivering this like acting performance and giving you the emotion. But the bowl that is holding the emotion is the song, right? So that's where I feel like lyrics are really, really important, because if you have this really powerful melody that drives you to sing along, because we all sing along in the car by ourselves, right? Especially if it's like, I love this part, and you go and you belt it out, even though you know you're going to be off key, because no one cares when you're in the car by yourself. That's the moments that I really, really love. Like when you can grab a universal truth, right? Something that we've all experienced, we've all been through, and you can scream it from the rooftops. That's a hit.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, we've talked about how difficult it is to write a song that can reach a large amount of people. Now, writing a good song is difficult, period. you know, I think. I mean, you can write a song, but something that's really, deep down is a good song. They're not like, you just don't pick them off the trees.
Dude,
It
what
requires
the
some
world
work.
is now, Burt Bacharach. Come on,
Right.
Yeah.
that is a great song.
Right.
Lyrically, musically, everything about it.
Yeah.
Hal David. I think Hal David was the lyricist
So-
for just about all the songs, but or most of them. But yeah, the guy touched me, and his music for sure, But yeah, and I think about that song when I was a kid. My older brother, who's no longer with us, that makes me think of him every time I hear that song. So that's my association, and it is very sentimental for me. But I wouldn't probably tell a 13-year-old guy, hey, this is a great song, you might want to listen to this. You have to discover that on your own, I think.
Got to be ready to receive it too.
Yeah.
I mean, a 13-year-old's probably not into
Yeah.
Burt Bacharach.
Right.
Yeah, different times.
May never be,
Do you guys ever see the performance that Dave Grohl did on was it Letterman or SNL, where he did Tiny Dancer? It was like right when Foo Fighters was just starting out, and he was still in his 20s. Dude, his version of Tiny Dancer is like deep. Like you could tell he was feeling it deep. And he's like, I don't know what it is. Like, oh, that's what it was. Yeah, he had just turned 30. And he's like, maybe it's just something that when you get into your 30s, but Tiny Dancer actually like means so much more to me now.
Right.
It's like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. There's definitely times when you hear a song and you're like, oh, that's neat. And then all of a sudden, like later, you listen to the words and you actually really, really feel it. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, you got the experience.
No,
Yeah. You have the experience to understand it much better than without that experience. You can appreciate the music, but you don't really get it until you have the experience to get it.
Now, Aaron, have you experienced this before, that you clearly, like we, are very, very moved by music, and music is extremely important to us. And I think one of the things that has just occurred to me through the years is that, of course, not everybody is moved by music or is touched by music. There's a handful of people that really, really are affected by it. Now, I think everybody likes music. The people that really, really are just moved by it, do you feel like you always knew you were one of those people, or is that just the way it is in your family? You always, you were just that special bunch that everybody kind of had that same kind of wavelength? Or do you ever think about that?
Pretty weird. Well, like I said, it took me until I was in my mid-20s to realize that just because you could play an instrument didn't mean you could write with it.
Right.
The reason why is because I have songs in my head all the time. Right now, there are songs in my head that are playing. They don't go away. Well, okay, there is a little caveat. Sometimes they do, and it weirds me out. Because I'll be hanging out in a room, like with my wife or something. We'll be sitting at the table and like both like, reading something or, whatever. And like all of a sudden, I'll be acutely aware that it is dead silent. And then I'm like, wait a minute, none of us were talking. None of us were listening to music. It actually has been dead silent for 20 minutes. And I didn't know. Not that I was like trying to pay attention. There was just so much just playing in my brain. That's like a daily thing for me. It doesn't turn off.
Yeah.
It is interesting
Some people
to me
that don't
how
have
we're.
that. You guys not have that?
Well,
I have it in spurts.
I
There's
think
times where I'm thinking about it and then not thinking about it. It's just there. And then sometimes, thankfully, sometimes it's a blessing when it's not there,
It's just too noisy around here, inside and out.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this comment, and this is something that I want all of you to chime in on. But Grant, would all of you agree with this? When you're living in the world that you're living in, Aaron, where you are in music mode all the time, that's your livelihood. We all have day jobs. We love music, and we spend a lot of time thinking about it and absorbing it. But it's been my experience that whenever I'm able to, and I try to a lot, I think you might know where I'm going with this. When you're able to really focus and concentrate on music and in that mind state, things come to you and the pathways become more clear and more often or more
Not as much static.
yeah. So that's my answer to, do I experience that? Not nearly as frequently as you do, but I think it's because I would love to be in that environment or situation where I could just think music all the time, because I think I could do some cool things. And I've always battled that. You know, you have to pay the bills, you know, but I know where my talent lays, and I know what I'm good at and what I'm really not that good at, and what I could, you know, serve the public given an opportunity.
I
But
used to carry a notebook around in my back pocket while working, and at the day's end, there would be 4 or 5 pages full of little. I would stop during the day because I would think, "Oh, that's a good lyric," or "That's a good title,"
Mhm.
or "I think this is the chord progression I'm hearing in my head. I'll try it out later." And you know, like you, Aaron, it was just there, and I would physically have to make myself stop and write it down, or I would forget it, get going with something else, and say, "Oh, what was that? I forgot. Oh, that was a good title, and I forgot it," or that blah blah blah. You know, it's not there as much anymore because I'm not really focused on music like I used to be. And I think the focus is part of it. Like I said, you're doing it all the time. So, and Jamey was saying there's a clean focus. There's not the static of,
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you have a family and stuff, but I'm saying your job is music. So, you know, that's what you're focused on all the time. But yeah, I concur that it used to be all the time. You know, you'd be watching TV or you'd be at the movies. I remember pulling out my little notebook and trying to see by the light of the movie screen, so I would write something down. It was insanity. You know, people were like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I got to write this down." And I've got all those notebooks somewhere. It's
are
probably
you
a
sure
treasure
that's
trove.
what they thought you were doing?
Yeah. I made it up. Well, you had to hold it up so they could see the light. But that was way before cell phones and
Yeah,
flash and all
I
that
do it
mess.
on my phone now because you can do speech to text and
Yep.
have an idea that's way faster out of my mouth than typing or writing it down. I just go
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
Okay,
back
like,
in the old days, kids, we had these things called pens and paper. We carried them around on our horse. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it though. It like I said, just not as much. I still have days though where it's in there. I'm like, oh, what am I hearing? And you know,
I still have 2 clips that I recorded on my iPhone a couple of years ago that I sent you, Aaron. You know,
Oh, yeah.
they were just acoustic ideas, but you know, I try to document my ideas, and I think I have 44 recordings on my iPhone. And,
Nice.
you know, that's how I have to do it. You know, I just have to put down 10, 15 seconds, whatever it is that I thought, and this is a germ of something that may be developed later. But I use my voice memo app on my phone all the time.
well, it's so much
And
easier than writing it down
yeah,
because even if you got your guitar in front of you, this is back in the day, and you just play and you play a cool chord progression. Well, you write it down,
Mhm.
and then later you go back and you look at that chord progression, and you can't remember
right.
right.
either the strumming or the rhythm or
Drums
if it
off.
was
You're like, I don't
picky.
even remember when
Yeah,
I
you're like,
changed it
and it
because
does nothing for you, you know. But I thought this was so beautiful, and now I don't know what the heck I'm doing with it.
Mhm.
And like I
Right.
said, now you just set your phone up and bling bling bling, and you'll remember it forever.
Yeah,
I
it's a
used to be
valuable
arrogant
tool.
enough to think that I would remember.
Oh, same.
Oh, yeah.
I said
Never.
no.
I had
Yep.
too many that were like, "Oh, this is so great. Should we record it?" No, we'll remember. It's too good. And then next day, you're like,
Right.
"Oh no!"
I read an article one time about Yes, and they were so prolific. They lost so many ideas because of that exact thing. They would be in the studio and they would be bouncing ideas off one another. And someone was like, "Should we be recording all this?" And they were like, "No, we'll remember it." And then they would get back in the studio 3 or 4 days later and go, "What was that thing, Bill, you were doing? Or what was this you were doing, Chris?" And we're like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
they
Steve
said
Howell
they
talks about that in one of the
yeah,
videos
they
of theirs.
lost so much stuff because they didn't record it.
I think what's really important with that is that, you know, just because you might remember what you did, but you might not remember how you reflected what you did based on what somebody else did. So
Yeah.
100%.
You can't be in somebody else's head and say, well, no, I need you to do this thing right here. So I think that's the critical reason why you would have to, in a band situation, it's like, it's just not going to be the same, so yeah, documenting what we do, boy, what a valuable tool that we have. And so easy these days. So there's no excuse not to do it. But, well, that's just a lot of fun for me to hear all the stuff that you're involved with currently, because we haven't been in touch a lot. And I had no idea how many projects you were involved with. And that's really exciting. Well, yeah, well, you always are doing something, I mean, and I explained to you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's the hustle. You have to either, like I was saying before, either you do one thing, do it really well, and you do it a million times over and over and over and over until somebody or everybody knows what it is. Like, do you guys know who Mono Neon is, the bass player?
I've heard of him.
Who was that?
Mono Neon.
Oh, wow. That sounds vaguely familiar.
He wears like a crocheted jacket, and he has like on top of his the headstock on his Fender bass. He actually got a deal with Fender recently that released the Mono Neon bass, and it comes with a sock on the headstock. But literally, he just plays bass. He doesn't sing. He just plays bass and has a whammy pedal for it. And he does some cool shit. He's super famous now, has a deal with Fender. Like, I saw a video of him on stage with like Victor Wooten and like a couple other like huge bass players. And they were all like, no, this is your solo. And he was like out there doing it. Like, okay, got it. So consistency, do the one thing every day. Or like me, because I play 24 instruments and I sing in multiple styles, because I used to sing opera and I used to sing jazz, and I've sang in metal bands and rock bands and pop bands and country bands. And, I've done so much hip hop. Oh my God, I've written and produced so much hip hop. For me, just to do one thing is actually kind of difficult. I probably should have done that a long time ago and just been like a singer songwriter or something.
You took the last 3 letters of your name literally.
Oh my God.
All.
Yeah.
Well, I found more recently that as an artist and performer and creator of things that don't exist in our world, I like to, I don't know, I like to be a conduit of energy from outside of our universe. And so in doing that, it's like, well, if it makes noise, I'm going to make some music with it,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to create a thing. And if I come up with a cool idea for a TV show, I'll help produce that and get that off the ground, or a cool video game, launch that. Those are some other projects that I have going too. But yeah, video game projects and a couple TV shows that I'm helping produce. One of them's a cartoon show about a rock band, which is pretty fun.
That's exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's called Star Lords. Hopefully we don't get sued too bad, but at least once probably. But that one's kind of fun. It's kind of a Blues Brothers meets Firefly, but in a like Rick and Morty style.
Wow. When's that? Is that going to be debuting soon?
Hopefully we got to sell it first, but
okay. I was gonna ask you what network it was gonna be on or what channel. So,
well, dude, if we could get Cartoon Network or something like that, that would be really cool.
Right.
But yeah, I gotta sell it first. We have enough right now to where I could do potentially like an animatic of the pilot, or I could just bite the bullet and see if we could get some funding to have some people actually animate it. There's some pretty decent studios in South Korea that are really, really good, that I've talked to a little bit. But also there's a new studio in Oregon, I think in Portland, actually, that I kind of want to hit up, because it'd be cool to do it in the States and keep it kind of local.
Yeah.
Since I'm Northwest.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you, I think you may have told me this, but, and I may be remembering this incorrectly, but there's a studio down in Southern Oregon. The town's name starts with an A and it escapes me, but she's a famous.
Yeah, are
Yes,
you talking about
Ashland.
Sylvia Massey's studio down there?
Yes,
The
yes.
museum? Yeah.
You've worked with her, right?
Yeah, she produced Flying Mammal's last record that we did,
That's
the one
right.
we were in Germany. And then
Yeah.
we did the last of the overdubs actually in Ashland at her
Yeah.
place. I think she actually just announced, I think this week, that she just paid off another purchase of like, I think she actually purchased a like a gear museum or a microphone museum to add
Oh,
to
wow.
her museum
Oh,
collection.
wow.
So she now has like all the vintage gear.
Oh, wow. Do you know what kind of board she uses down there? Does she have a Neve or?
She had 2 or 3 that she had.
Oh, wow.
There was a WEM console, a split WEM, I think a Neve, and I'm not sure if she also had an SSL or API.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure. I haven't seen the new building at all because they were still in a church.
Now, Ashland is about, what would you say, 45 minutes from Medford, maybe? And about an hour or so
Sounds
from
about right. Yeah,
California border?
north of the border.
Yeah, yeah. I remember driving through there a few times, but yeah, she wasn't on my radar, until after, we talked about it. I thought, oh God, I was just there. And I didn't know what kind of history she had, but yeah, she's a talented lady.
She's a genius. I mean, she's got platinum records from working with Tool and Johnny Cash and System of a Down, and like she works with so many great people. Red Hot Chili Pepper. And, yeah, she just got another Grammy this last year, I think.
Is that right?
For Jason Isbell, I think.
Isbell.
Nice.
Wow, that's a lot of fun. It's that's such an amazing area of the country. Northern California and Southern Oregon. It's just such a beautiful part, and I think it's just very conducive to being creative.
Yeah, I love the Northwest in general. That's why I still live here. I like mountains and lakes, and I like to snowboard in the wintertime, and I like to go out on my paddleboard and on my kayak in the summertime. So kind of need all 4 seasons and all the stuff to do. So
well, I won't say what town, but the town is a lovely town, and it's got one of the most beautiful lakes of any Pacific Northwest town that I know of. It's a lovely area, and I'm a Idaho resident officially, but I'm never there. But yeah, it's a fantastic area, and once I discovered it, I fell in love with it. It's an amazing, amazing place, and Northern Idaho is really special. There's something really cool about it, and you're only a little ways from Montana, a little ways from Washington, Oregon, so it's there's a lot to do there. It's really amazing. So I can certainly understand why it makes sense for what you do. And you're not that far from LA.
Yeah, I mean, we almost moved to LA a bunch of times, and then and just didn't, because honestly, like, our theory was like, if my plan was to tour, you're not at home whenever you're on tour. You're everywhere else. So why not come home to a place that you would like to be home, and not come home to a place where you have to like drive 2 hours to commute anywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I did a bunch of shows down in LA, a bunch of like films and stuff, and like, it is just insane. It's just crazy.
It's been years since I've been there. There's too many people out there, and there's too many cars on the highways, and it's a frustrating experience if you have to commute all the time, which you have to. You have to have a vehicle to get around Los Angeles, and it's frustrating, even for people that are there a lot. I just, I guess they just adjust. But the last time I was there, I about had a panic attack and said, I can't take this. I've got to get out of the city. But it's still a wonderful area for the entertainment industry, and you have to go there for, contacts and getting business done. I certainly understand. And would you say you're in Los Angeles multiple times a year?
Not as much anymore. because most of the time, since COVID, everybody can do Zoom meetings and things like that. So it's been a couple of years since I've been, actually.
Is that right? I thought
Yeah.
you were there more recently for some reason. Okay.
Was I? I don't know.
I thought you
Movies
were.
and shows are made all over the place now, so not like it used to be LA centric for everything.
Yeah, that definitely happened. I mean, a lot of stuff moved to Georgia. A lot of stuff moved to Vancouver, Canada. But in the Northwest, we still shoot a lot. In Seattle, Spokane, and Portland, and Missoula. We did some Yellowstone. I actually got to do an episode of Yellowstone over in Montana. That was cool.
Missoula is one of my favorite towns.
It is really cool.
It is a fantastic town.
little
If I
college
ever had
town,
the opportunity to move there, I
river.
would.
It's really cool.
It's a great town. It's
I think I saw Elton John live in Missoula.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because one of my buddies in Portland, actually, piano player, friend of mine, he was trying to buy tickets on one of his last tours, and he said that front row at any of the places, you had to buy 2 tickets because it was front row. Couldn't just buy one. And in Portland, it was like $1,500 a piece.
Oh, wow.
And in Missoula, it was like $400 a piece. So he was like, well, it's still half as much if I buy 2 tickets and go by myself.
Right.
And then he hit me up. He's like, dude, I'm coming through your area. I can pick you up if you want to go. I was like, let's do this. So I actually got to see him right in the front row.
That's awesome.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's cool.
Great show. Oh my God. Great performer.
Yeah, that's a college town that it's just really, there's something special about that place. Every time I'm in Missoula, I'm just a happy guy. And Montana might be the prettiest state in the country. It's really beautiful.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's never disappointing, the scenery there. Well, Aaron, I've really enjoyed this. This has been really enlightening for me on a lot of levels. I really appreciate you coming along, and we'd all love to have you back on again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's been interesting for you.
Cool.
And thanks so much for sharing your time. Well, everyone, we're going to say goodbye here, and we will see you again next week. Please like and subscribe. We really, really appreciate all your support. We need it. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks so much.
Now I got to go look up all Aaron's stuff and spend 2 weeks listening to it.
Yes.
There you go. Love it.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks,
Be well.
guys. See you next time.
Take care.